with Republicans controlling the Supreme Court, they can do anything. Anything. You realize that, right?
So we're about to learn that Vaush doesn't understand how the separation of powers works. Okay, are
Yeah.
you ready?
Yeah.
Ready for this?
That's it. Any law that gets passed could be appealed up to the Supreme Court, and they could give some insane ruling on it. They can do whatever they want. There aren't really like checks and balances on the Supreme Court, not in the way there are in other, president can veto congressional stuff, people can, they this, that, but
He's so bullshitting. Like he doesn't even really know. He's like, I can do this. Does he know that bills have to pass the House and in Congress?
I would assume.
I don't know that he does know that.
So this is a bafflingly weird argument. He's like, because the conservatives control the Supreme Court, they can just overturn any law and there's nothing anyone can do about it. Okay. Does he not understand that Congress can just pass another law?
Right.
And the Supreme Court says this law is unconstitutional. The Congress can say, oh, and then they just pass a slightly different law.
Well, they have to stay within the framework of the Constitution.
Of course. Well, until it gets ruled out.
Well, that's another thing they can't just do anything because they have to find whatever the law is unconstitutional.
Of course.
Yeah. And not only that, there's also this long process that someone has to bring
a lawsuit.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
So go through the lower courts.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's a whole big deal. But this is like, and it's funny because it took me like 2 seconds. I literally Googled, time. I forget what I exactly typed in, but it was something like, times when Congress, ignored the Supreme Court. And there was an article that popped up and it was like, hundreds of times in which the Supreme Court threw out a law and then Congress just rewrote the same law and slightly changed it to address whatever the Supreme Court was complaining about. And it was just all these countless examples.
Really?
Yes, this happens. It happens constantly.
Right.
This happens all
because they wrote the law
time.
Incorrectly. They wrote the law badly, right?
Yeah, or they write.
It was unclear.
They write some. The law has some ambiguity into it or some issue with it that the court doesn't like, and so Congress just says, "Oh, okay." So they just rewrite the same law again, but they change or fix whatever the thing is that the court doesn't like, and bada bing, bada boom, there's a law again. And Vaush doesn't even understand this fucking general process.
Well,
legislation.
Yeah.
Vaush thinks that once the Supreme Court rules on something, no takesy backsies, then Congress just says, well, the Supreme Court ruled on it. We can't do anything.
Yeah, they could write a law about abortion because abortion isn't even in the Constitution. Like, how could you say it's unconstitutional?
Well, so with abortion, it's interesting.
Because they'd be like life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness.
Well, so the question would be, what would be what would be the justification for that? And would it be under the Commerce Clause, like a lot of things? I don't know the answer to that. But even if, and this is again where Vaush, I guess, doesn't understand how our process of laws works in this country. Even if Congress wanted to pass a law that they didn't have the constitutional authority to pass, that's why we can amend the Constitution.
Right, yeah.
And then the Supreme Court can just go fuck itself. The Supreme Court can't say the Supreme Court can't overrule an amendment to the Constitution.
Right. Yeah, the Constitution's the big dog, the bottom line. Yeah.
So this is just so weird. He just doesn't understand how any of this works.
Yeah. Well, I hope the Republicans don't make a constitutional amendment saying we should round up trans people because that would be
that's what's going to happen.
It would be then the Supreme Court couldn't even do anything.
Right. Yeah. Remember when the Republicans in Bush, they want to have a constitutional amendment against gay marriage?
They did. They wanted to say, they were like, we don't need Congress writing no law. We're going to get a constitution.
Well, I mean, Congress is obviously involved with making an amendment to the Constitution, but
no, it's the state constitutions or the state legislatures that ratify the Constitution. I don't even think Congress is involved. You get each state has a legislature, and they get 2/3 of the state legislatures to ratify it. Yeah, they fucking completely cut Congress out of the loop. They're like, fuck you, Congress.
So an amendment may be proposed by a 1/2 vote of both House or Congress.
Okay.
Houses of Congress.
So
or,
obviously they're involved there.
Well, no, it is two. Or if 2/3 of the states request one by a convention called for that purpose.
Right.
The amendment must then be ratified by 3/4 of the state legislatures or 3/4 of the conventions called in each state for ratification.
Right. That's the way they do it without the Congress. Yeah.
Right, you can do it without Congress, yeah.
But bam, look at that.
Nice.
Yeah. What should we do? Let's do something crazy. I have an idea. You know how they talk about the gold standard? Let's do the diamond standard. What do you think?
Yeah, you're right. Why are we bothering with golds? That's for chumps.
I know. Diamonds. Right.
Diamonds are
forever. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah. Think how cool it'll be. We can put a little diamond on the dollar bill.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Let's do it. Let's just run the whole country on crypto.
Yeah.
Sitch Adam crypto. What do you think?
But let's have a free will standard. How about that?
Yeah. I mean, there's not enough.
I think we'd run out of money very quickly.
Yeah. Why would you want to constrain the money supply that much? It'd be terrible.
The Supreme Court, their rulings, that's that, you know? They are the check. That doesn't seem smart. Well, to be fair...
God, I love it. I think 50% of Vaush's chat is there just trolling him.
I know, right?
That doesn't sound very smart, Vaush.
Well, it's so funny how, like, for a very long time, you had the Supreme Court is pushing more for, like, liberal left stuff. And it's like, oh, that's fine. But then as soon as it becomes, like, pushing for right-wing conservative stuff, it's like the Supreme Court has too much power. What are we going to do? It's like, oh, okay.
I mean, this is kind of the problem with Roe versus Wade. I mean, this was before either of our times, but I can't imagine being in a situation where something as controversial as that was settled by the Supreme Court. I mean, it's got to be uncomfortable to be on the other side of that. I never really thought about it because...
Wasn't that how segregation was first settled before the Civil Rights Act?
Was it? I don't know.
That
was like way before my time, so...
Was it? I thought you were around during Brown versus Board of Education.
No, I missed that one altogether.
Yeah, Brown versus Board of Education was in 1954. So yeah, so that's a pretty big thing.
I mean, it is. I mean, equal protection under the law is, I would say, the bedrock of the Constitution.
Right.
So. Yeah, I don't know.
Fair to the founding fathers, okay? Judicial review was not something that was originally enshrined in the Constitution. Dude, that's the ultimate, like... Judicial review what we have to do is we have to remake the end of Aladdin, okay? Right now, the Supreme Court is like Jafar, you know, where they're the most powerful wizard. And then it's like, but a genie gave you your powers. You'll always be... The strongest wizard will be weaker than the weakest genie. And then it's like, you're right, for my third wish, I want to be a genie. And then it's like, ha! And then he's like, goes back in the lamp or whatever. Spoilers, by the way. That's what we need to do, okay? That's what we need to do. Because Jafar is like the Supreme Court. And what we need to do is judicial review their judicial review. What if there were like a majority Dem court and they were all base Democrats and they judicial review the judicial review? And they were like...
What the fuck is he even talking about?
Wait, hold on. I'll explain.
Yeah, actually, upon reviewing the Constitution, we found there's no constitutional legitimacy to the concept of judicial review. And it's the equivalent of, like, them, like, nobly sacrificing themselves, you know?
Okay. This is literally one of the dumbest fucking things I've ever heard Vaush ever say.
Yeah.
This is the perfect example of, like, a little bit of knowledge makes you stupider.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
so judicial
you looked
review.
up judicial review, obviously.
Right, Right. So judicial, yeah, I guess you just heard this term. So judicial review is the court's ability to determine whether a law that was passed is constitutional or not.
Right.
Okay. And so there's an argument that the power of judicial review, which is what we think of as generally a lot of courts' primary job,
Yeah, interpreting the law.
right, is not actually a power explicitly stated in the Constitution, and is a power that's implied via, I think, like Section 3 and 7 or something of the Constitution.
Right.
Now,
Okay.
if you read through it, I don't think it's possible that the founding fathers didn't intend for judicial review to be part of the Constitution. That seems to me like it's fucking insane, but okay. I know there are some countries that don't have judicial review, which to me seems totally insane. But anyway, so Vaush is saying that we should get rid of the Supreme Court's ability to determine whether laws are constitutional or not.
Well,
Okay.
who is going to do it then? I mean, that's kind of a job that needs to be done.
Nobody. This is why Vaush is literally the dumbest fucking idiot alive. Okay. Even if you agree with this concept of this weird legal argument about getting rid of judicial review, basically, if you got rid of judicial review, all that means is that if the Republicans controlled Congress and the president, they could just pass whatever laws they want. And there's absolutely no check. There's
Right.
zero checks.
Well, the whole idea
They
behind
control
the
both Congress.
Yeah, the whole idea behind the Congress is, or the Constitution is that you're limiting the government's power to
Right.
fucking enslave you and like
Right.
take away your freedom of speech.
And this is why this is insane to me. If there's no part of the government that says, "Hey, you who passes the laws, you're violating the founding document of our Constitution,
Right. You've gone too far.
or of our
Yeah.
country." Yeah, you've gone too far. To me, that's like just a horrible. That to me is opening the door for such fuckery and power grabs. And it's insane to me that Vaush, who's just so terrified of the Republicans taking over, is like, we need to get rid of judicial fucking review.
Yeah.
This is just the dumbest idea ever.
They could pass the no trans people law. And
Yes.
they would be like, well, you don't really have protection under the Constitution for marginalized people.
Right. They say, well, fuck you. We
Yeah.
decide not. I mean, this is totally insane to me because I'm sure if you went back, or I'm sure if you like look at now, if you were to look at all the times that judicial review is being used, I can almost guarantee you it's being used far more to help, liberal progressive values than conservative values. I could almost guarantee you that if you were to break it down right now.
I mean,
We
that's
even
just
talked about the Brown versus Board of Education, getting rid of segregation. That was because of judicial review. Like, this is insane to me.